Welcome to ACC Nation, featuring sports news and special guest interviews. Here's Will Ojanen and Jim Quist.
All right, now, if you haven't figured out that Tobacco Road begins and ends in Raleigh, you're clueless, at least for 2024. Okay? That's where we stand now. There's one team, men's, women's, remaining from the ACC in the NCAA tournament. NC State. NC State. And thus, I say, Tobacco Road begins and ends in Raleigh.
Well, Jim, I don't think we can, if you look up, please, I don't think we can measure just how excited the fans in Raleigh are. By the way, if you're listening to this on audio, check this out on YouTube. Good visual. Just the excitement that's going on in Raleigh right now. I mean, how did you expect what the men could do? Yeah, you could easily make the argument the women could have a path through the Final Four. I picked them to go to the Final Four, my bracket.
Yeah,
probably I have a very good shot of winning my bracket so long as Iowa holds up their end of the bargain tonight, which we don't know. The games in progress as we record. It's close.
Yeah.
So we won't know until long after we're done.
Yep.
But
which is fine.
Yeah, that's fine. But the run the men have been on, like, I don't think we've ever seen it.
Not like this.
To this extent.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's just it's amazing. And I have no words for it. It's just cool. It's cool as hell.
It's what makes March so much fun.
Yeah. Number 11 seed. A number 11 seed is sitting in a position to take a championship home. It's just wild. Absolutely.
Yeah, all the teams, that had of the ACC, and the ACC has crushed it in the tournament. And they got all the, 3 teams to the Elite Eight. I mean, unfortunately, the season has ended for Clemson, and somebody had to end their season between Duke and NC State. But it's just amazing to see just what has happened when you figure 5 wins in 5 days.
Right.
They were tied with Louisville with less than 5 minutes left. They beat Duke again the first time. Then needed Isaac McNeely, an 80% free throw shooter, to miss a free throw. Then go down and have Michael O'Connell hit just weird, miraculous 3 at the buzzer to send him in overtime. And then DJ Burns just ran things, beat Virginia, turn around the next night, the 5th night, and handled North Carolina. And then came through the tournament, a few days later, beat a 6th seed in Texas Tech. Turn around 2 days later, beat Oakland, who was the darling of the first round for beating Kentucky, which, by the way, congrats to you on that, Greg Campy and crew. Made it to the Sweet 16, beat a 2 seed in Marquette. They look completely lost. That's like an 11 seed made a 2 seed look completely lost on the basketball court. How do you I don't know. But then and then Duke came out, looked okay in the first half, but then they couldn't hit a broadside of the bar in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah. Staggering. I mean, if you look at the field goal percentage overall, Duke shooting 19 of 59, making 19 of 59. That is a 32%, just a little over percent field goal percentage there. So, and then you go over to NC State, 28 out of 60 and almost 47%. Huge, just staggering numbers here. And it's like it's just on this incredible roll. It's so much fun. Yeah, it's like you said, it's tournament time, man. Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
It's like I said, this is why it's so much fun to watch. Like you never know what's going to happen. It's an amazing thing. Just looking at NC State being like 2 games over 500 to finish the regular season, and then have won 7 in a row. Just getting it done with basically, DJ Burns just running everything. And you would figure, he's been a good player, but he has taken a massive step forward in the ACC and NCAA tournaments. Even when he hasn't shot the ball well and he hasn't scored a lot, he's doing other things, and that's been the great thing is he's like a great passer. Like you have to account for a 6'8", 275-pound player to be a good passer. They don't make many DJ Burnses out there.
No.
And he's light on his feet for that stature, and he knows what he's doing with the basketball. Even if he isn't shooting, he's good at finding open teammates. And it's just really magnified in this tournament. And even in the Elite Eight game, 29 points on 13 of 19 shooting against the Blue Devils made Kyle Filipowski, Mark Mitchell have an off game. They were offensively and defensively, the forwards for Duke struggled all game long, and because Filipowski was 3 of 12 in the shooting in the game. Yeah, he had 9 rebounds, but still he fouled out in the game. So did Mark Mitchell, and he played in, he only had to play 29 minutes, and he did okay. But you're not asking Mark Mitchell to score a lot. That's just not how you do it. But what really did in Duke was Tyrese Proctor, 0 of 9. Jeremy Roach, 5 of 13. Jeremy Kane only 8 of 20. And 5 11 3, that's pretty good, actually. But they just had no answer for DJ Burns and DJ Horn, who had a big game, 20 points, 7 of 16 from the field. Yeah, it's those guys right there accounted for 49 of Duke's 76 points. And yeah, it was just weird to see Duke get dominated by 2 players in such a fashion.
Yeah. Amazing game. And looking over the stats, I mean, I've gone over these stats several times, and I keep coming back to stuff and looking at it, and I'm going like, I can see some of the clear-cut decision makers here. But if you just sort of laid it out on paper, to look at and just say, okay, we'll compare these two teams. You have no idea who they are, who the players are, or anything else, and you start going, this is pretty even. Yeah, this looks about right where it ought to be. It ought to be a nice tight game, and there shouldn't be any surprises here. And then you throw in to this equation. Here we have a 4 seed losing to an 11 seed, and that 11 seed is in the same conference as that 4 seed and has had not a spectacular regular season, and somehow found that magic button and flipped it on at conference, ACC conference time. And it's like letting wild animals loose, man. Somebody left the doors open on the barn and everybody's coming out. This is fun. It really is. And I on the last program, I certainly gave their coach some grief and questioning whether or not, why in the world, after all the stuff that they've been through, why is he still there? I still have that question in my mind. I don't think he's going to go away anytime soon, just because somebody makes this kind of a run out of all the years that they've been just But, everybody's talking, hey, let's extend him. Let's extend him. Hey, okay.
Well, he does. Keats does get an extension, like 2-year extension, regardless. But yeah, just
I don't know where if I were an AD sitting in Luke Horgan's shoes in his chair, I just, I, unless the man wins a national championship, quite honestly, I just have questions in my mind, and I'm sure Pac fans are going, "You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind." But let's go back a couple of years over the last few years and talk about what he has and hasn't done and hasn't performed and hasn't delivered, and all you guys were jumping all over him at that time, saying, "Hey, maybe it's time for a new coach." Blah blah blah. Well, that just doesn't change automatically. I mean, it's like people jumping all over Hubert Davis right now. I'm not so sure. We talked about this last time. I think you said, you know, maybe hold off a little bit on Hubert Davis to get a feel.
Mhm.
I'm kind of there too, because look, Hubert Davis has had a lot of success with that team, and has only been there a short period of time, as opposed to you know this
Mm.
other situation. So I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't. It's not going to happen. I'm
Mhm.
just throwing it out there because I think it
Yeah.
needs to be discussed, and I think it's an honest discussion that everybody should have. Has the man delivered over the period that he's been there during his tenure? And just because something magical happens, does that save you? Because next year we're not going to be looking at the same team.
There are a lot of seniors on this team who are going to be graduating. Burns for one, Morcell is another. He's graduating. I know there's a few others that are not coming to mind right now, but they're going to have quite a few seniors that are leaving and getting and moving on. So Keats is going to have a kind of a big roster rebuild coming next season. And I'll be interested to see just what he does with that roster. And I don't have it in front of me to know for sure exactly what he's got, but it's continues to be part of the story of the ACC where the conference, despite it looking kind of lackluster and the metrics and everything, continues to have these performances in the NCAA tournament by these lower seeds. I mean, you just take this year. Obviously, the 11 seed NC State's in the Final Four, but a 6 seed in Clemson made the Elite Eight. Duke was a 4 seed and made the Elite Eight, beating a number one. Yeah, granted, their best player was out for the game, but go back to last year. Miami was a 5 seed and made the Final Four. Go back 2 years ago to 2022, and Miami made the Elite Eight as a 10 seed. And the North Carolina made the Final Four as an eight seed. They went to the national championship game as an 8 seed, and so on and so on. So it just feels like the ACC just has a way of overachieving in this tournament, which kind of tells you that that the numbers don't always tell the full story.
No, apparently not this year. And I think in that conversation that you and I had with Jason Carmelo last episode in regard to how the net needs to be changed is hitting it on the head. I think that people need to start looking closer at metrics and how we put this together. At this point, it just seems, and this applies to a lot of things. It's not just basketball; it's a lot of sports where I think they really need to reevaluate um, how they're using metrics and how it's
Mhm.
applied for teams getting into playoff situations. And we need to really toss out. I think you go back to football season. Uh, forget about how it ended up with Florida State in their bowl game. Um, that's an anomaly, and we can discuss that until we're blue in the face. But you know, that's a situation that never should have occurred, and I will argue forever and a day. And I just think that that's unfortunately where the subjective side inserted itself and created a problem. And it was unfortunate that the Seminoles got the short end of the stick there. The conference got the short end of the stick, et cetera, et cetera. So those sort of things now, when they come to the forefront, we see them, we deal with them, we see how unfair it is and inadequate some of these metrics can be. And then what happens when people are putting their personal thoughts and feelings into situations, or they're trying to manipulate. And I will say this: I think people were manipulating that system to their benefit, and that's what we came up with. And when you're looking at this year's NCAA, and I'll just say the men's, I don't see it so much on the women's side this year, but definitely on the men's side, there's some screwy stuff when it comes down to who was selected and how they were seeded. We seriously need to reconfigure the net and a bunch of other stuff. We need to get more information in to figure out who belongs where.
Yep, 100% agree, and that's why Jason is one of the better guests we have on the show. He's smart, really insightful, and has great insight into college basketball. And he's, if you're not following him on his website or social media, you need to.
You're missing out, really are. Everything you just said to a T. And if you know his background, what he does professionally, you're going to be very impressed. Okay.
Yeah, you got to be smart to do his job, and well, let's just say he is.
He's just not some fly by night who's saying, I'm gonna pick this, this, that, and the other thing. Oh. Man's got a lot of brain power going on behind the scenes. Definitely. There to make all that happen. Anyway, let's quickly look at the how the women are doing here. We were talking about Iowa, Caitlin Clark and Miss Reese going at each other, Iowa and LSU. And at one point, the last time I checked, it was a close game. It kind of going back and forth a little bit, nothing major, but a great game.
And I can actually tell you, as we are recording, it is tied at halftime. So
there we go. See, that's the kind of game you need to get in on. And of course, by the time you hear us, it will have come and gone.
Yes.
So, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Did you get an opportunity to read the piece on Kim Mulkey?
I did.
Okay. And,
it was, I think she tried to make it bigger than it actually was.
I agree. Yeah.
It basically it was a really well written article that basically confirmed everything that I thought of her.
Yeah.
A good coach, but a word I cannot say on a family friendly podcast.
and the thing is that, if you were going to use the word bitch,
I wasn't even going there. I think
okay, well,
what's the letter after that?
Okay. Well, she may be that as well. I'm not going to say, but
yeah,
I will just say this, that I thought it was a good read. I thought it was fair. I thought it was very reflective of who she is, why she is, some of the things that have influenced her life, to become the person that she is. Um, and often I think that when you see people, it's like watching us. If you're somebody who watches us on a regular basis, you start to form your own idea as to who this person is, what they're all about, based upon what you're seeing for a brief period in time. You don't have the full background. It's like Will is the sweetest guy in the world. No one would know that at all. He's easygoing. Yeah, I'm an SOB, and there's no doubt about that. And I absolutely relish that role in life, and look for getting my, as the sun comes out a little bit more, getting my my I want to get out my magnifying glass and go look for ants. So I'm getting a call from PETA after this.
We're going off the rails, Jim.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, I read it. I thought it was good. I believe you hit it on the spot. I think she just blew it out of proportion. So what? So what? I mean, look, there's nothing. You're in the public eye, coach, and people want to know who you are and what you're about, and they can make their decision based upon their observations or whatever they read, or they can look a little further into it. Or they can just love you because they're a fan of LSU and you've done right by the basketball program in leading them to championships and wins and stuff like that. And they don't care about your personal life.
Win games and you can pretty much get away with anything you want.
That's pretty much where I stand in my observations about Kim Mulkey.
Well, I mean, that's the LSU fan bases. I'm just speaking for them.
Yeah. It is what it is. Anyway, women's basketball has been a trip as well. This has been absolutely crazy. NC State is going to be facing South Carolina. This is number 3 versus number 1. And it's the first matchup in the Final Four. Still have the game we're talking about to get us to the other side of the coin, and one more game too to get us there. Boy, NC State in South Carolina. What are you thinking there?
Before we get there, let me ask you this, Jim.
Yeah.
Has this tournament lived up to the hype? Because I feel like it has.
I think so. Yeah.
I think especially now that we've gotten to the second weekend and we're seeing these more high profile matchups and like the cream of the crop, meeting each other. It's like even the second round, like Baylor Virginia Tech game, like even though Virginia Tech lost without Kitley, amazing ball game.
Yeah.
Came down literally to the last possession. We're like, that's what's so much fun about March Madness is the talent level and just the competitiveness of these teams. It's ratcheted up to another level, and you're seeing it with some of these games. I mean, you're getting to the point where you're not, if a team goes up by double digits, it's rare. I mean, yeah, we're going to forget UConn, Illinois on Saturday on the men's side because that was a diesel truck just plowing through. But anyways, it's been a great tournament.
Absolutely.
You see, but this is no easy task NC State has in front of them. I mean, South Carolina's undefeated. They'd been humming along up until that Indiana game. Was it Indiana they played? I can't remember who they played, where they were up double digits and it almost blew it. Was it last weekend? I forget. I don't have the bracket in front of me. It's actually off to my side here and I can't reach it, but that's beside the point.
I've got it. I just have to scroll down to find.
Yeah, but they've been playing a great basketball other than that one stretch. I think they got a little too complacent and it bit them. Now, you got the right coach and Don Staley that's gonna fix that. Now NC State, you see an amazing run through the tournament, beat Texas by 10. Really getting the kind of performances you got from, Isaiah James, 27.6 boards, played all 40 minutes, and so did Sanya Rivers, 20 out. She played all 40 minutes as well. And this was a situation where Coach Moore was just, riding with, his best. And I don't think he would have played as many players as he did. He only played 7 players, but with Baldwin in foul trouble, I think he kind of was limited on what he had to play more of his bench that he wanted to. But yeah, it turned out to work out really well. I mean, they pretty much led almost nonstop. They were up double digits at halftime and kind of kept Texas at arm's length throughout the entire game. And another, like I say, another great win for the ACC, getting back into the Final Four. This is, like I say, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a lock that South Carolina is going to win. I mean, anything's possible.
No,
We've seen what State's been capable of doing. They just beat a 1 seed in Texas by 10.
exactly. This game you were talking about, it was South Carolina over Indiana.
Yeah, it was Indiana.
5.
By
so
5, yeah.
4 points. And the interesting thing,
5.
Looking at, I was looking at some of these other games in here too. Syracuse losing to UConn. Now that was an 8-point finish. It was 72-64. However, a lot of those points came there at, in garbage time, basically. And from the standpoint of UConn making that spread a little further. So UConn is susceptible as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was an 8-point spread between UConn and number 7 Duke, 53-45. And Duke had taken out prior to that number 2 Ohio State, 75-63. So yeah, this has been just a wild tournament. I look over at NC State taking out number 2 Stanford. Stanford has been just an incredible team this season. They won by 10 points. The Pac took them down by 10 points in that game. That surprised me in ways I was staggered by that, to be honest. And I know NC State's a good team, but man, that game was something else. And it's like you point out that Texas, knocking off number 1 Texas 76-66. Again, another 10-pointer. So
yeah, it's just like the level of matchups we've had in this Elite Eight. You could argue these are very Final Four-esque when you look, especially with the games going on tonight on Monday with LSU, Iowa. That could be easily have been a Final Four game. UConn, USC. You got Paige Beckers against Juju Watkins. That's going to be an amazing game. That one will start after we're done recording here. But that is easily a Final Four caliber game. And we're saying this in the Elite Eight. It just shows just how many great teams there are in the women's game this year. And when we get to the Final Four, the latter part of this week, the matchups are just only going to get better. And it's good. I can't wait to see what's in store.
Going to be an absolutely fabulous conclusion to both the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournament. I hope that if you're listening or you're watching this, I hope you get an opportunity to see some of this action on both courts because it has been phenomenal and you can't go wrong. And of course, we're gonna check in again and talk about the aftermath of this in probably one of our next episodes, because I'm not sure. I think we might slip something else in here later after this one. I'm not 100% sure of that just yet, so I'm not going to say, oh, we got this. So we'll see. Anyway, until next time, cheers.
School.
Thanks for listening to ACC Nation. Be sure to listen, like and subscribe to our podcast, radio, and YouTube channels by visiting accnation.net. Follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky and Reddit at ACC Nation.
ACC Nation.